Hey you, yeah you, did you have a long day at work? Was class rough today? Did you accidentally read spoilers of the new episode of your favorite show? Did you go to the cabinet looking for your favorite snack and find out that someone ate it? If you answered yes to any of these questions, come enjoy an episode of the Afternoon Snack with your host, me, Luis Ayala. Welcome to the Afternoon Snack. It's me, Luis Ayala, and I have two special guests here for the very first episode of the Afternoon Snack. Introducing first, from the University of Memphis, future police officer Katie Mian, and then my second guest, my blood cousin, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, not Full Metal Alchemist. What's your the Alchemist? Angel
The Residence
Avila.
Alchemist.
The resident alchemist, Angel Avila.
No, the Residence. Oh my God.
We're starting off good today. We're winging it. So today, whenever you listen to this podcast, we're gonna talk about the top rappers of our generation. Now, the hardest part is coming up. Not coming up. It's deciding what era or what years to cover. So what I thought would be easiest would be covered from 2010 to 2015, or 2010 to 2020, but the first half, because it wouldn't be fair to rappers like Lil Baby, Dub Baby, or Meg Thee Stallion to be included with heavy hitters that already put out classic albums like Cole, Kendrick, Drake, and Nicki. So we're gonna go from there, and we're gonna talk about what makes these rappers eligible to be part of a top 10, and like how long has their career spanned, and why these other notable rappers, didn't make it. So, is there any thoughts that didn't make? Is there any artists that you want to talk about already that didn't make your list, Katie or Angel?
Wait, what do you mean? As in huh?
Like notable ones that you didn't list. Like, is there any ones you want to bring up right away before we get into it?
Well, I mean, I did bring up how I thought Lil Wayne was part of that era, but apparently not.
Well, because Wayne
started in the late 90s.
Yeah, like he started with what's her name?
Kanye West.
Not Kanye West. I mean, yeah, Kanye was producing in the 99s. All right, if y'all hear that, I'm sorry, but Wayne dropped in 99 with the Hot Boys. There you go. And then he didn't take off until he stopped dropping the Carter, which was, I think, 02 or 03 maybe. If I'm wrong, y'all could correct me. But, yeah, so Wayne's part of that early 2000s era, I feel like, with, like, Ludacris, Outkast.
Chris Brown, even?
Chris Brown, I feel like, is from 2005 and up. So he would be part with, like, Gucci, Young Jeezy. Yeah.
Yeah, he started.
And, like, Omarion and people like them and Bow Wow.
Yeah, Chris Brown was...
Wait, hold on. But clarify for me real quick, what years are we doing it? Is it between the 2000s and 2010?
So from, like, 2010... from, like, 2008/9 till, let's say, 2013, because once you get to 2014, I feel like most of the rappers from 2014... it's a new generation. They haven't had a chance to make a classic album yet. Because if you look at... Cole and Drake, they've been at it since like 2007, dropping their mixtapes all the way up until 2020. That's 13 years. That gives them double the amount of time of people like Kevin Gates to drop a classic album.
Wait a minute. So then, are you basically just starting it off from when Drake and Cole got their start until 2013?
Yeah, I guess that would be the best way, because right when they dropped, they were already kind of touted as the next three, the next big three. Like, they were already like, oh, hip hop's back from the dead. They revived it when they started dropping.
So it's kind of like the beginning of the Renaissance.
Yeah, basically.
I feel that. Okay, that makes sense then.
All right, so for what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna name. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna name. And these people may not be on. They may be on your list, or they may not be. But these are the ones that got left off, and I feel bad for leaving them off. The biggest name I left off is Wiz Khalifa. Like, there was so many people that there was 7 people I left off out of my top 10 that could realistically fight for a top 10 spot. And it pains my soul to drop Wiz out of the top 10 because he has classic mixtapes and he has a classic album.
Wait, so the reason you didn't include him was because just everybody else was just a step above?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, they're like most of the ones that made the top 10 are on his level, but they drop more or they have more. I don't want to say bangers, but they have a more influence in their like not only their community but in the rap game.
Like a longer lasting influence.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I definitely feel that.
So did Wiz make the top 10 in any of y'all's?
He made my top 10.
Right.
I couldn't do mine. I couldn't do mine like in order, but I chose my top 10, and he was in my top 10, just because of his music style differs from almost everybody else's, except he's really similar to Mac Miller. Right when both they started, they had like their similar sound, the way they their style was similar. But to me, Wiz Khalifa's is super influential on our hip hop culture today, is because of what he raps about. He made it like we had Snoop Dogg and all these other rappers that would talk about and made
when he crossed it over into the pop culture.
Yes, I feel like Wiz Khalifa made smoking marijuana into hip hop like a thing. Like it made it.
Yeah.
How would I explain it? Like he made it like when you think about Wiz Khalifa, what do you think about hip hop and smoking weed? And I think that's a really big impact on the hip hop culture because, as we know, not all of our not all these other rappers on the list don't do that. They didn't normalize, or they didn't try to normalize, smoking marijuana on.
Wait, but what about Snoop Dogg before him? Because I feel like Wiz took a lot of influence from Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg did it too, but it was such a big gap between the time between Snoop Dogg and his when he was at his hottest, and then until Wiz Khalifa, there wasn't another. You know what I mean?
And I feel like Wiz made it cool to listen to stoner rap.
Yeah, like
that is true. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I personally put him in my top 10 because he was my introduction into hip hop. Like when I started listening to hip hop, I started with Wiz Khalifa and Mac Miller. So those two artists were automatically put in my top 10 just because they were my introduction through hip hop, through stoner rap. Even though Mac Miller later developed on into just
like a
jazz type R&B type style, but that's where they started.
Y'all ever see that all right, fuck you then.
Oh, alright, go ahead, stupid.
Y'all ever see that that Netflix movie with Wiz and Snoop Dogg where they're in
Mac
high school?
Yeah.
Mac and Devin go to high school. Tell me how goofy of a premise that was. That Snoop Dogg, a 60-year-old man, pretending to be a high school boy.
He was not 60.
He's close to 60 now.
But not back then. That movie dropped in 2013, 2014.
Yeah, so
but
he's still young. He still looks young.
Wiz also gave, and I hate to exclude him, but he also revamped Snoop Dogg's career per se.
Oh, definitely.
And pushed him back into the limelight, and also Juicy J, because after 3 6 Mafia stopped making music, Juicy J they would still be considered independent and underground because of the type of music they were making. But once Juicy J linked up with Wiz, I don't want to say revived his career, but Wiz helped push Juicy J into the mainstream, and that in return let Juicy J go on another almost decade type run because you could still hear him on almost every remix in a club.
Definitely, and then especially if I'm not mistaken, the Stay Trippy album, the one that album, I know almost every song off that album because of Wiz Khalifa, because Wiz Khalifa signed Juicy J to his label. That made him really pop off again. And as soon as Wiz Khalifa signed Juicy J, he made bangers like Bands Make Her Dance, Stay Trippy, what's the other one? I can't even think of it.
And then he killed every feature, like Cardi B's what's it called? No Limit. G-Eazy and Cardi B's No Limit. He killed that remix.
And then he made music with Ray Shremmer.
Power Glide. That song went off the charts. But before we start talking 20 minutes on every artist, let's go ahead and name, if y'all can, who was the top? Who was the 10th spot from y'all's list, if y'all could?
Well, easily number one right off the bat, Ice JJ Fish.
I'ma smack you, dude. Before I forget to explain to the listeners, so we're basing our list off of longevity, classic albums / classic mixtapes, how well their careers spanned, how often they drop music, if they get bodied on their own song, if they have a lasting impact in their community and the culture as a whole, and what are they doing, or what can you see them doing in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, say, if you were to say Drake, if he drops some more classics, can he take a top 5 of all time spot? So for the top 10, I'll go first, because Angels was not serious. That is out the window.
Fuck you.
I am sorry.
But hold up. He did drop some heat though. But anywho,
yeah,
no.
But all right, no.
It's a no for me.
All right, but no. Just for clarification purposes, this is like a retrospective, right? Where we're looking back at them during this period of time and how well they've developed over the years.
Yeah, and also whoever when we each name a list, our person to put on the list, if they get 10, if they're on the 10th spot, they get 1 point. And then at the end of the episode, we'll add up everybody's point, and that's where we'll get to.
Oh, okay. So it's 10.
Right.
So like 10 is 1 point, and then number 1 is 10 points, right?
Yes.
All right, that makes sense.
All right. So my first pick, and it may be a surprise, and y'all may not have thought of it, but I picked Chief Keef. He debuted, I want to say, late 2011, early 2012. But if you think about it, what to me, Chief Keef was influenced by Waka Flocka, and Waka Flocka doesn't get his flowers for influencing a whole subgenre of rap music, which is drill music. So Chief Keef, when he dropped, he literally put the rap game in a chokehold, like for real. Like everybody was trying to get a feature for him, remixing his songs. He got Kanye to have his whole record label remix "I Don't Like." That was never done before, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. To have a whole label remix your hot song, and yes, he may not have a lot of longer albums or classic albums like these other artists have, but his impact in the rap game cannot be denied because he's influenced the whole world. Because you have New York drill, you have Florida drill, and you have the UK drill. That's all sounds that can be stemmed from Chief Keef. Without Chief Keef, there would be no Bobby Shmurda. There would be no Kodak Black. There would be no Pooh Shiesty. So Chief Keef, in my opinion, I wouldn't put him as high as 5, but he could realistically jump to 8 or 9 or 10 in my list. But right now, I give him the 10th spot.
He was my number 10 too.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the number 1 spot for a second, which got me really confused because I'm like, wait, you mean to tell me you ranked him higher than everybody else on the list?
No, but I mean, some people would.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's definitely like a bias at play here, regardless of who's on our list. Like some of us will like a specific artist better just because we resonate with their music more, regardless of their.
That's why these lists are so hard to make. All right, so who was your 10th spot?
Who, me or Katie?
Yeah, Katie said she had Chief Keef at number 10 too. So what was yours?
Oh, really? I had Lupe Fiasco at number 10.
Lupe? Okay.
Yeah, for a similar reason.
He's also from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. They beefed for a little bit, too.
Wait, who? Chief Keef and Lupe?
Yeah.
But what's so weird is that when
Yeah, they did. Like, I forgot how it happened, but, like, I think Lupe stopped rapping for a while because he beefed with Chief Keef, I think, is the story. I'll have to look it up, but I think.
But what's so weird is that when I think of Lupe Fiasco, even though he might, he's considered a hip-hop artist, I think of The Show Goes On, and that doesn't, to me, doesn't sound like hip-hop. That sounds like a total pop song right there.
Definitely. Yeah, no. Lupe really had...
Like, I mean, Lupe he's like Drake, right? He does hip-hop and pop. But, like, I think of Lupe Fiasco, he's his pop, not like I wouldn't consider him a hip-hop, not from music that I've heard of, rather.
Yeah, like so like the thing is like Lupe had a huge pop phase, which is what pushed him into the mainstream. But he even once he like had his 10 minutes, he returned back to the underground scene. And like Lupe, when you listen to like a lot of his other stuff, like anything other than the album Lasers, which is what made him mainstream, he's a lyricist through and through. Like his lyrics are super complex and like super interesting in like multiple layers. And like Lupe diehard fans will theorize over all of his albums and everything, because sometimes he'll make a concept album and you'll never realize it until you actually listen to the lyrics.
So kind of what Kendrick and J. Cole have done with their latest works, like with Kendrick's album Damn, that was literally a concept album.
KOD and For Your Eyes Only.
If you let me speak, I'll say that. Yeah.
Wait, For Your Eyes Only was one?
Yeah, because it's supposed to be like he's rapping for his buddy who died, like to his daughter.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm thinking of, okay. No, you're right. I know what you mean now.
Alright. So the 9th spot, I had Migos. Personally, when they dropped, everybody was dying to get on a Migos song or have them featured on theirs.
Oh, shit. I forgot to include Migos.
It's okay.
I didn't see it on the...
It wasn't on the list.
I had sent it back afterwards, but I mean, you could, if you want to squeeze them in, or it's fine to leave them off. But I included Migos because, like I said, when they first came in, it was a different sound. It was that old school Bone Thugs, early 3-6 Mafia type flow that like revitalized. How do you say it? Revitalized like the Southern artists, and they had a long run. They crossed over too into like pop culture, and not a lot of rap groups could do that. It's hard for rap groups to stay this long and relevant for almost a decade, because they came out in 2012 with Versace, and it's already 2021 and they still got hits on hits on hits on hits. Their music may not last as long, but you play one of their old mixtape songs or one of their new hits, and people are gonna sing that song word for word.
Yeah.
No, Another thing about Migos. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just gonna say that even though we forgot about them on the list, I can totally see them being in the top 10 simply because of their because they have influenced the newer rappers. Like I would say like Young Thug, maybe even.
But Young Thug came around the same time.
Well, then who am I thinking? I'm thinking about
maybe like Ray Strummer as a group.
Yeah.
Lil Yachty, maybe Uzi Vert.
Yeah, no. So what I'm actually trying to say is, you're right. Forget that thought. What I'm trying to say is, I appreciate how Migos, even though they have made a big influence as a group, as a hip hop group, they still had hits individually. Especially like
say for Takeoff.
Quavo, all of them. Offset, and Takeoff. Not so much Takeoff, but especially like Quavo and
Quavo was
Offset,
killing features for a couple years.
Yeah, like they were. He hopped on music with Justin Bieber. Anything they could really get their hands on. And then I think what really helped Migos, especially like Cardi B, like Offset helped his wife Cardi B, be on. He gave her limelight. Yeah. But yeah, that's.
I was gonna say another thing about Migos that's super interesting is have you guys heard about like the triplet flow?
I think so, but go ahead and explain it to the listeners.
So Migos is the one who basically introduced the triplet flow to the mainstream. Like a good example is like Versace, where it's those 3 syllables over one beat, where it's like Versace, 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 da ba da ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da. It's kind of like that flow. After they dropped Versace in 2012, was it 2012?
Yeah, I think it was 2012 or late 2012, early 2013.
Well, yeah, once they dropped that, you'll notice that like a lot of people incorporated that into their tracks, that triplet flow. And I think Migos is the one who like actually made that mainstream, because it definitely existed before them, but in the underground.
With Lord Infamous and Bone Thugs.
Yep. It was definitely still underground once Migos introduced that into the the mainstream, everybody started copying it. You can even hear some Drake songs pretty recently where he actually starts doing that triplet flow.
Yeah. All right. So whose was y'all's ninth spot?
Well, sorry, Migos, we forgot about you. But I actually put Travis Scott. Even though when he put out his, I think he debuted maybe like in 2012, 2013 with Antidote. Even though at that time he only was dropping really like hot singles, like his most recent album really like evolved him into like a greater artist that is like definitely influential to our hip hop community today. But I think he definitely has some classics. Antidote is definitely a classic. Um,
Butterfly Effect.
Butterfly Effect. Highest in the Room. Literally all of those songs are they're classics.
I left Travis off. I mean, he could kill
same.
features and he'll give everybody like a boost, but to me, like, I'm a hip hop head, so, and I'd even include A$AP Rocky on this list, but I feel like Travis is like a counter to what A$AP Rocky is. I mean, they have the same style and everything, but I feel like they're the same person, but just if they were plumped up in different genres. So Travis comes from the Houston, which is known for like their lean culture and stuff like that, and then Rocky comes from that New York grimy era where everybody, you gotta be able to rap. So I feel like they're the same person, but just they were raised different. That's why I let both of them off, and I left Rocky off because he hasn't dropped in a while, and he did have the potential to jump up to that next level, but I feel like his mind was too much into fashion, and then he had that arrest in Sweden, and like he just stopped making music.
Mm-hmm.
So Angel, who'd you have as your number 9?
I had Wale as my number 9.
Wale?
Just because I feel Wale. A big reason why Wale was in the number 9 because he had a lot of good stuff that he dropped during that era, but I feel like he shined a lot more, particularly when he was being featured in other tracks. Like he kind of added a bit of an R&B vibe to things.
Yeah, his Ambition
and I think he leans a lot more R&B.
I was just gonna say,
Yes, I think R&B is a lot more of a stronger point, but he still has a definite influence on the rap game as a whole, even today.
Yeah, I left him out because his amount of music, like rap music he's put out, isn't as much as these other artists. And like I love Wale, like he could kill a feature like his or kill his own song like Ambition, classic song with him, Ross and Meek Mill. All his verses on their Maybach Music's collab album, I think it's the second one, Self Made 2. All his verses on there are classic verses to me. Like, they're one of his best verses, but I had to leave him off because there was other artists in there. Alright, so my number 8 spot goes to somebody who's kind of coming back for a second stint, is Big Sean.
Definitely. Big Sean's a good one.
I put him at number 8 too.
I swear to God, y'all just copied each other's lists. She copied off of you.
Me and Luis are we think kind of similarly. I think for a rapper to come in hot, do like with like when he first came out, he made songs with Nicki Minaj. He put out his old album, which was pretty
Finally Famous,
which was pretty damn good if you ask me.
Yeah, especially when that whole era. I feel like that whole era when all these artists started to drop is when they were saying like hip hop's dead, and like every one of these people on this list revived it back from hell. Like hip hop is now pop culture. Like I think last year or 2 years ago they said that hip hop was it took over the pop music as the number one music genre in the world.
And I think that I was just gonna say that for him to come in hot and then like take a sort of like a sabbatical, learn about himself, really what he was doing, and then drop another album and still be as good as when he first started really says a lot. It's like he never left. He never took that time off. Even though, between the first and this last album he dropped, he had music. He still was dropping albums. But to me, that he took maybe 2-3 years off, and came back like he never left. Really says that, like, really shows the impact Big Sean has on the hip hop community, and especially because you can tell that his music has evolved. He has evolved as a person.
For me, the reason why I have him ranked 8 and not higher is because the way he handled the Control verse when everybody was saying he bodied Big Sean on his own track, the way he handled it, I felt wasn't the right way to handle it, because he kind of made, to me, it was like he was like acting like a drama queen and making it bigger than what it was, instead of like proving that he could rap on in music, instead of like complaining about it on the radio interviews he would do. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, Big Sean got my respect. He could rap. I love all his music. But Angel, who'd you have as number 8?
For number 8, I had Future.
Future? I had him a little higher, and you'll see where he is.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I put Future in that spot was because kind of the opposite of a bias. I don't have that much experience with Future other than like his features and his collab albums with Drake. But like at the same time, I can remember being a junior in high school and fucking that album with Drake and Future. What was the album?
What a Time to Be Alive.
Views? What a Time to Be Alive. That shit. Yeah, that shit dropped, and golly, it was fucking banger after banger after banger.
And the crazy thing is, I read stories about that album. They didn't record in the same studio. They were literally sending tracks back and forth. Like, they also, I've read that they also sent old tracks that didn't make their albums that needed a feature, and they just sent it back and forth. So, and that's considered to be like each of their classic albums, I would say, I guess. And they weren't even in the studio together to really make a collab album.
Mm-hmm. And it's insane that they did all that, but the chemistry between them was so good. And like, I remember,
good,
it still is.
With
I remember seeing somebody post. I remember seeing somebody post somewhere on social media that like, anytime you see Drake and Future in that artist like section, like anytime you see Drake and Future named together, you know it's gonna be good. You know it's gonna be good.
And it takes over the charts.
Mm-hmm. Like this last song they put out, "Life's Good." Literally, I mean, people have their opinions about it because they sound like two different tracks on one song. But I think that's what makes it so good. And I remember when I was in, maybe since y'all were in 11th or 12th grade when that dropped, I was in 9th through 10th. What a Time to Be Alive! I remember how crazy everyone went over that album. It was literally everywhere.
And Future arguably has a top 5 mixtape run that could rival Lil Wayne's mixtape run and Gucci Mane's mixtape run. When he dropped, I think, Beast Mode, all the way until What a Time to Be Alive, and even after that, all his mixtapes he dropped from, I think it was 2014, 2015, all the way till 2017, before he became really mainstream. Those all mixtapes are all his classics. So you will see memes of like his head on Kobe Bryant's body, where Kobe's hugging all 5 trophies, because Future dropped, I think, 4 classic mixtapes and a classic album. And he reached that. Maybe he is on that same level as Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, but I would personally put him as a step below. But he did have a monster run. No cliche. All right. Because he has a song called Monster.
You mean no pun intended?
Oh yeah, no pun intended. Sorry. Sorry. All right. Number 7. Anybody want to name their 7, or I can go ahead and name mine.
Go ahead and name yours.
All right. The person I had for 7th, who represents kind of a later era, is 2 Chainz.
2 Chainz.
Like, I feel like people clowned him early in his career.
We're not on 7 anymore.
Yeah, because Big Sean, when you named Big Sean, that was 8.
Mm-hmm.
So
we fucked it up, didn't we? We got to start
I
all
think
over.
Katie did. No, we ain't starting over, dude. We're 30 minutes in.
Never mind. We were just talking about Future.
Yeah.
No, it's alright. We can start over. I got time.
No. It's because we just talked about Future, and I had set Future as 7.
Oh,
so I got
okay.
confused.
So
I'm like, what?
your Future is 7.
Yeah.
See, she's changing her list. She's changing her list to match yours.
Alright, so we don't need to talk about Future as number 7 because it's really the same thing as number 8. But I have 2 Chainz as number 7.
He's somebody I left off down my list, and he could, definitely compete for a top 10.
I put him at 7th because he made a classic album. Like his first album, based on a true story, classic banger after club banger after club banger. And then his last album he just did that LeBron James helped produce was a great album. It may not be a classic, but he went from rapping that trap style to actually spitting content in his music. And like he's part of that Migos subgenre of rap music, of that trap that has crossed over to where you see white kids listening to it in suburban areas instead of people listening it into like the quote unquote ghetto.
Or in the urban communities.
So that's why I put him at 7th. And he has classics and he could hold his own with hip hop heavyweights. He could go bar for bar with Rick Ross. He could go bar for bar with Drake. Like on the song All Me with Sean, 2 Chainz, and Drake. Who got the worst verse? Because they all spit.
That song is literally like classic.
His hardest bar in that song is where he goes like, Givenchy, God bless you. Like, who would have thought to do something like that? But Angel, who would you have at 7?
At number 7, it was gonna be A$AP Rocky.
A$AP Rocky?
So I didn't put A$AP in my top 10 either.
When he came out, he was my favorite rapper because he came out. I started hearing him, French Montana, and MGK at the same time.
And that's when I first listened to A$AP Ferg too.
With A$AP Ferg.
Yeah.
And like I was just so like they brought back grills because Rocky had his gold grill in there, and like he had the different his fashion was different and he could spit, and he kind of had the melodic choruses too. Yeah, melodic. And then his song Fucking Problems with Drake.
I was just going to bring up that one.
Literally, yeah. Literally every verse on that banger was a banger.
Yeah, like everybody, you put that song on, everybody's going to rap the whole thing. Oh, and 2 Chainz is on there. He does the chorus. And even though he's got the chorus, it fits. He didn't need a verse. And that's like a powerhouse song of our generation. That's like...
Super track.
That's like...
That was in 2014, right? 2015?
No, that was 2013, I think. No, that was 2012.
Really?
Because that's when Drake was growing out his little afro. And that's right before Kendrick really cemented himself as one of the greatest of our generation. Like, he was just about to drop, I think, Mad City. And the funny part of that song is, it was Drake's. And I think he gave it to Kendrick. And Kendrick didn't want it, and so Rocky took it. And it was on Rocky's album.
Damn, what the fuck? Nobody wanted the track?
Well, Drake didn't need it because I think it didn't fit. What was his album at that time? Take Care?
I think so, yeah.
Or was it? What's the one where he's sitting out by himself at the table?
Views.
That's Take Care.
Oh no, that's
Views is from like 2017.
Yeah,
it was gonna be the one with Marvin's Room and all that, and it didn't fit because that's when
was 2010, was it not?
No, 2010 was what's it called? Yeah, October's Very Own. And so that's why he didn't drop that because it was more of like a lover song, like a lover album, lover boy type album. And then Kendrick was already making his story, and it didn't fit his story that he was with his album. So Rocky just put it on his album.
Yeah, and I think it really fit. Like it was a good fit for A$AP to take that.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, Rocky, that you were left off my list, but you're one of my all-time faves. All right, number 6. Who could realistically be who could be in the top 5 and be top 4 really is Meek Mill.
I left Meek Mill out of mine.
Oof.
Wow.
We ought to punch her ass.
Because like Meek, I put Meek that high because even though he had like his growth has kind of been stunted by his legal troubles, but he comes out on fire. He makes club bangers.
He is a lyricist. No
you
lie.
can't, you can't not go to a club and not hear, what's it called? His Dreams.
Yep. Anything off of Dreams.
Intro.
Dreams.
Yeah,
is
the
just,
intro. I think is what the Dream Chasers intro or something like that. And
the one where it's the Phil Collins song, right?
No, that one's off Championships. This one is like right. Where he raps and you're waiting for the beat to drop, and then the beat drops and everybody just goes crazy. Like everybody uses that song as a getting ready to go play a football game in high school, or even the Philadelphia Eagles use that as their walkout song because it's so it's his classic song.
I can't think of that song you're talking about.
I'll play it after this, but I don't want to play it because it's copyright issues. But also he also has classic albums and classic mixtapes, and he spits.
And let's mention, how we mentioned earlier about Future and Drake. When they do their collabs, it's a banger. Like even though Drake and Meek Mill had their beef,
that's what I feel like.
Every song they put out together too is a good ass song.
Yeah, they have good chemistry, but I feel like that's what will take Meek off a list is because, to me, I mean, he did get bodied, but to me, it's closer than what people give it to him because once Drake dropped back to back, people killed Meek Mill off. That was it.
That was
true. So it took him 5 years or so to revamp and come back.
Yeah.
And I feel like Meek should have bodied him. Meek should have won that beef. It shouldn't have took Pusha T to come in and take Drake down a notch. But Meek still makes classic albums, and that's why I put him as my 6th. And he kills every verse.
We gotta say that with his championships album, I think that gained a lot of respect back from the the fans that he lost.
Yeah, because after he went to jail, and then people wanted him to succeed, and that just added to that album and made it more special. And then his feature with Jay-Z and Rick Ross, that's a good song.
And he even put in new artists too, like Cardi B. That song with Cardi B he put out was really good.
But I feel like that was only to get back at Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, true. Still funny though. Still a good song.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, regardless, Meek Mill has definitely aged well.
Yeah, like fine wine. Who was y'all's 6th spot?
I put Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
Just because
I had Meek. Meek is so fucking good. I didn't realize how much I fucked with Meek until my Spotify Wrapped came out at the end of the year this year. And, literally, Meek Mill hit, number 4 in my playlist. I'm like, damn, I didn't realize I listened to him that much until, I looked, and I had, 10 of his songs in my playlist without even realizing it. It would just come on. I'm like, oh, shit, this a bop. This a bop. And I added to the playlist. And literally, 6 albums later, I'm like, oh, he aight, I guess.
Yeah. Though, no, what I just thought of right now is, how Wayne gets all the credit for finding the female and male version of himself with Drake and Nicki? Nobody really gives Rick Ross his flowers for finding Meek Mill and Wale they're right now that's 4 artists who have been named in the top 10 that 2 people have found 4 artists that could be in the top 10
successors.
And signed them. Yeah.
And what's funny is that we didn't. I didn't put Rick Ross up there.
Well, because Rick Ross is part of that 2005 where Gucci, Chris Brown.
Was he really putting out the early?
Yeah, his first song was "Push It," and that was in 2005.
I didn't remember that.
Not "Push It," "Hustle." Every day I'm hustling.
I was gonna say "Push It to the Limit."
Yeah, that one too.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here's where we get into the nitty gritty, where arguments can really fly. All right, so does anybody want to name their top 5, or you want me to go ahead and get mine?
I went ahead and
hold on. Let me get the shotgun out real quick.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and say mine. For number 5, drum roll please, I could put Mac Miller.
Mac Miller. I left him off my list, even though he's one of my favorites of all time. I left him off because he had made classic mixtapes, and his albums were good. I felt like the way he was going towards his career, if he was alive and still putting out that music, it would have propelled him all the way over 10 through 6 and into the top 5 because he was finding his music.
So you feel like Mac Miller
he was finding his style.
Yeah, he was short-lived. He was finding his style to be able to be different, to stand out from all his peers.
But I think I feel like he still stood out.
He did stand out, but he didn't stand out enough.
I mean, arguably, when you think about white rappers in rap, who do you think about? Eminem,
Eminem,
Mac Miller, and Logic. I mean, even though Logic is mixed, but that's I mean, for a white person to have that big of an impact on the hip hop community is pretty big too.
And to think about, not to cut you off, but his mixtape Macadelic, which is one of my favorite projects of all time, he dropped it when he was 20 years old, and he died 6 years later.
Yeah.
That tells you where he was headed towards as a hip hop legend.
Yeah.
Because he could have been that next person. He could have been like Wiz is our next version of Snoop, but he could have been our like I wouldn't say Too Short or E40, but he was in that same like subgenre of rap where it's like drug music.
Yeah.
And then he was finding that jazz sound, which hasn't really been touched in rap music, and he would have been like one of the forefathers of that.
No, but even in that Macadelic mixtape, I think it's pretty dang good that he was able to get a verse from Kendrick. You know.
Yeah, Kendrick and Wayne, and still hold his own.
And you know, and it wasn't that the album. I mean, the mixtape where he said I made it without a Drake feature.
No, that was a couple years later.
But still, I mean, for him, you know, for him to say such a controversial line and for it to be true, that's why he's in my top 5. Even though he had yet to, you know, reach his full potential, he was still a good artist, you know.
All right, yeah. My 5th person was Future. Like I said earlier, his mixtape run could rival 2 of the biggest mixtape names in the game of all time. So that's why I put Future at number 5. Excuse me. Who'd you put, Inge?
At number 5, I had Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi? He didn't make my list because I didn't listen enough to him. That's the only reason why I didn't put him in my list. But he does. I love Man on the Moon. I love Marijuana. I love what's the other one? Day and Night. Even though those are like pop songs, but he's still
those are his mainstream hits. Yeah, the reason I've got him up there is because like I completely forgot that there was a period of time that like I fucked with Kid Cudi hella hard, and like completely forgot about this until like 10 years later when a track came on and I'm like, what the fuck, I remember this. And then I looked at the whole album and I knew every track song for song. I think it was Man on the Moon, to be honest, but fucking Kid Cudi drops a lot of bangers. He does a lot of stuff like in the music scene and everything, even though he's been kind of like, no, you know what, he has been mainstream with that album that he dropped with was it Kanye?
Yeah, Kid See Ghost or something like that.
Yeah, Kid See Ghost. He had like a little bit of resurgence back into the mainstream when that shit dropped. So I don't know. I think Kid Cudi's super interesting because like he kind of was always off the wall. He made kind of like strange, interesting music where it's like you don't really know what to like generalize, like what to call him. You know how to describe him because he's just always super off the wall and interesting.
Yeah. All right, now here comes the number 4 spot. I had Nicki Minaj up there at number 4. I put Nicki as number 4 because she's been on a 10-year run. No other female artist has had that level of respect in the game to be able to run the game so long like she has, and she has put out classics. Even though some of her songs are pop songs, she's been able to hold her own on rap songs, like the one she was featured on with Rick Ross and Kanye and Jay-Z, Monster. Everybody said that was her song. Like, she bodied the verse. And she's still slaying tracks to this day, even though now I think she said she retired and she's now starting her own family. Yeah, she's ran the game for 10 years. So I have to give her flowers while she's here because we may not see another female rapper run the game 10 plus years like she did. And Lauryn Hill, she dropped her classic album and then disappeared.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, right?
Yeah, Nicki kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And she could just rap. Even though some people say her ex-boyfriend Safari wrote most of her raps, she could still hold her own in like freestyles and stuff like that.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. All right. One of y'all two want to name y'all's 4?
I put Wiz Khalifa.
Wiz at number 4.
Yeah, I put Wiz Khalifa at number 4.
On my end, I had Mac Miller at number 4.
Mac, damn, I feel bad. Y'all put my favorite artist that high, and I even
Yeah.
put him in.
Yeah, because you're trash. That's all it is. You're just a fucking idiot. You're just a fucking idiot.
I'm gonna take Sean off. Amigos.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, I bet. No, I think Mac Miller ranks that high for me. Because of course he blended a lot of genres together in his music, which is one of the things that I really like about like musicians, is when they don't just appreciate their genre of music, they appreciate music as a whole, which you can definitely see in Mac Miller's music. He blends influences of jazz, of R&B, of soul into his music, and like later on in his career he definitely developed his style and like came into his own outside of like just generic rap, you know? Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, because he died so soon, like in the height of his career, we can only speculate as to like how much farther he could have gone. Similar to like how we talk about like Biggie and Pac, how we don't know what they could have done later in their career, that we can only think it was up and up for them, you know? So that's why I think Mac Miller ranks that high for me.
No, and I think his post-communist album that his family put out, Circles, I think that really gave us like a small snippet of what Mac Miller could have been, you know, like 10 years from now, you know what I mean? And I think that if he was still around, he would definitely be around, you know, to see his full potential and still be considered one of the greatest of our generation.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, with him, Biggie, and Pac, they died before we really even saw their prime, is the biggest thing. Like, we don't know what they could have done or how far they could have changed the game. Some of these artists we may never even heard of if Pac and Big were alive. So, it's just crazy to see what he could have done to think about. So, now we get into the top 3, and this is where hip-hop heads really could debate who it is. And I would make, in mine, if y'all know me, listeners, like, if y'all know how much I talk about hip-hop music, and Katie would say it. Katie would say it. Well, it'd be like, how you can hate this man so much, but listen to put his newest music on and listen to it. It's because when you're that big of an artist, and there's accusations of you not writing your own music, even though other genres have literally people on their team to write their music for them. It's something about hip-hop where you have to do it yourself. And that's why he's ranked as low as he is for me. And even though he does drop classic songs, I feel like his earlier music is more classic than what he drops now. Because you can't name... Well, the person I picked is Drake. You can't name more than, let's say, 2 or 3 songs off his album Scorpion, Views, his last album he just dropped. He makes music that are bangers for the time, for like a month, and they last like that. But then I feel like it's watered down because he drops so much.
I think another thing is that like you said, his tracks are definitely have like a short shelf life. They're bops for a month or two, and then he drops more music, and then it's the next hot thing. It's basically kind of like trendy. He comes out with like trendy music nowadays, where it's like everything's like everybody's super into it right now until the next big thing comes out, and he's constantly having to chase that heat, that trend, that new fashion.
But then again, we can't really see. It's funny because I put Drake at number 3 too, but I think the reason why he has to put out so much is because that's how the newer generation is. It's like music can only last so long. Like, you know, with Drake's album Take Care, that one, I mean, we were listening to that for like years, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, still today, you play that album and I'm going to sing that song like it's, you know, like I know, like I'm singing it, you know, that's my music, but I think he had to evolve with what the new generation is like.
With they the like times,
trendy, like I mean, let's think about it. I mean, he's not a part of this discussion at all. But like, example, like Lil Pump, like he was there, like he was hot for a year, and then what? Like he's still around, but like he doesn't put out good music. Like he doesn't put out bangers that I want to listen to. You know what I mean? And so I feel like Drake how to adapt to stuff like that. Like, okay, like newer kids, they want to listen to a song for a month or two, and then hop onto what's next. So I feel like Drake is still, he should still be appreciated as one of the top artists of our generation because he can evolve and he can adapt. You know what I mean? And like, and like how how you were saying earlier, Angel, is like an artist that can do it all. This man has literally done collabs with Hispanic artists. There is no other like him except maybe Usher, who did a collab with Romeo Santos. But but he's done music with Bad Bunny, Romeo Santos, and you know what I mean. And I don't think it'll stop there. I think Drake is still gonna continue to diversify his music and try to reach all populations. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. No. There's no doubt about it. He is a fucking superstar. Massive. Everybody knows Drake. Yeah. But I think you're right when you say that, like, he evolved with the times because this generation of, like, hip young fellers nowadays, they straight up have no attention span. Like, literally, they don't. Modern,
like, I think it's like 15 seconds now, or less than 15 seconds is our attention span now.
We're like goldfish. 10 seconds, we forget everything.
Yeah. All right,
so, if anything, it's kind of a testament.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. No, you're fine.
So,
I had Drake at number 3, too.
Okay. Then now.
Oh, this is where it's getting hot. All right, this is hard for me, but I put Kendrick Lamar at number 2. It hurt my soul putting him at 2, but, man, I mean... he's definitely up there. I don't think there's anybody that could give me a good argument to why he doesn't deserve number 1 or number 2. Like that's a spot. It's interchangeable between 1 and 2.
I put K. Dot as number 2 too.
K. Dot?
Yeah, Kendrick. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, I had Kendrick at number 2 too. Like, we barely have to talk about it. We all know.
Why he deserves that?
Legend,
yeah, because he could realistically be number 1 too. Because he's the only one who won that. Was it the Pulitzer Award or the Writing Award?
The Pulitzer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. He's a true. He is the closest we can come to being a true musician and rapper. He embodies what rap is. He embodies so many genres and basically what it means to be a musician, what it means to be a rapper, what it means to be woke, to be aware of the society and to understand how much power and influence you have over that.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason why we might, all three of us, have put him at number 2 as well is because this man has not put out any music.
Dude,
he needs to put out music.
I saw yesterday, it's been 1,400 days since he last put out an album. The last time he put his album out, I was single at the time. So I've been on almost a 4-year relationship, and he still hasn't put out an album. Come on, K-Dot. We need you.
I was gonna say, I think Drake and Kendrick represent two opposite sides of that release date type, that philosophy. Drake is constantly dropping bangers here after another, while Kendrick makes music that lasts. Yeah. I am still turning on what is 107.5 here in Chicago for rap radio, and straight up every 5 songs a Kendrick song will come on the radio. Fucking anything from Humble.
Yeah.
Humble,
so it's he makes music that definitely lasts.
Yeah, literally all of let's just appreciate this last album because this man doesn't want to give us any more apparently. Literally all his songs.
No, he's teasing us.
He's teasing us because this man literally wrote a whole story. You know, he didn't.
And the craziest thing, and not to cut you off, you can listen to it backwards and it'd be a whole nother story.
Yeah, this man's artistry is untouched. Literally all his songs on Damn are so good. It's it's unreal. I feel like if Kendrick could just give us more music, we would just even appreciate this man even more than what he's already appreciated.
And he's the closest thing we have to Pac, really. I know all these artists want to claim they're the next Tupac because they live that thug lifestyle, but I feel like the embodiment of Pac is wanting to change the world
and that's what Kendrick wants to do.
Mm-hmm. Although I don't know, whereas Pac had a huge influence in so many other things outside of just the rap game, I'm not too aware of like what Kendrick does outside of the rap game. You know?
Yeah, I see that.
It's like Kendrick is like because he's like so low key with his personal style. I feel like he might not feel the necessity to let the world know like this is what I'm doing for like not even just like the Compton or where he's from, but like anywhere really. Like we just know that he's out there and he's like doing his thing, trying to be a better person.
All right, so the number one spot, undoubtedly, P. Diddy.
Ice JJ fucking Fish. Ice JJ Fish.
Jermaine.
I thought it was the guy that put out Tatiana that was number one.
Blueface.
Blueface, man.
Bust it down, Tatiana.
Man.
No. The best in the world, the greatest rapper of our generation, without a doubt.
Jermaine
Perfect
Cole.
score. 30
Jermaine
points.
Motherfucking Cole.
Jermaine Cole. Classic album after classic album after classic mixtape. He had a rough start to his career, but he was able to turn it around and become the greatest rapper.
What do you mean a rough start?
Because like he was trying to find hits and his hits weren't working. Like on the song on Born Sinner, on the song Let Nas Down, he goes in detail about like how he was trying to make hits and like Jay-Z didn't like it, and then like he put out a hit and then like the hip hop heads didn't like it. So, like, he was able to find his footing with Born Sinner. He put his foot on the neck. 2014, Forest Hills Drive. He broke the pedal and never looked back since. KOD may not be a classic in terms of real hip-hop heads.
But it's a good
It's a good album for the time when everybody was popping pills and drinking lean. He made it... And I want to say he made it cool not to do drugs. Because it's supposed to be cool not to do drugs.
Awareness.
But, yeah, he helped bring awareness. And he didn't make it sound corny. For Your Eyes Only, a lot of people didn't like, but it's a good storytelling album. And the one album that will cement his and Kendrick's legacy is their next album, their next solo album they drop, if that will catapult them into the top 5. Because right now, I feel like they're 6th, 7th, and 8th. Cole and Kendrick, out of all rappers of all time, they're 6th, 7th, and 8th right now, no particular order. But if they drop another classic album, they will be in that top 5 spot
of all time.
Of all time,
definitely.
They could realistically take Biggie and Pac's spot because they didn't drop enough.
Yeah,
they could take Andre 3000's spot because Andre disappeared right when he was about to reach that plateau of a real great. They could take Wayne's spot if Wayne keeps dropping mediocre music. They could take... I don't know if they could take Eminem's spot because he's got pop culture hits. But if he drops more, like I said with Wayne, if he drops more mediocre music, they could take Eminem's spot.
And if they keep trying to chase that greatness that they obtained, they're going to sour everything else that they built up to that.
They may not drop as much as we want them to, but when they drop, they stop the world. Like, everybody on social media is like, oh, go listen to this album real quick. Go, go, go.
No, but since we're... I mean, even though Kendrick, hasn't put out any new music of his own, except Middle Child, all those features, man. He was on a feature run. Every song was a banger.
Yeah. He did surprise verses. He did a song with Offset. He gave 21 Savage a classic song on a classic album. He gave Moneybag Yo. He did that song Diamonds with what's his name? Star something is an old hip hop rapper. Classic. But it's nearing an hour right now, and I don't want to go on for more. So this is the top 10. Go ahead.
Hold on. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So I've gotten into plenty of arguments about like... So, I will just say, I like 2014 Forest Hills Drive, classic, fucking banger. It's when he made it, you know? But I have a bigger appreciation for Born Sinner.
Yeah, that's what put me on.
Before it. Yeah, the reason why Born Sinner is because once he did 2014 Forest Hills Drive, he knew he made it. He had no features, none of that, and still went double platinum. Or was it, how many platinum? More than double platinum.
Yeah, I think it's double platinum, and then I think Forest Hills Drive went double platinum again with no features.
And he was the first rapper to ever do that.
Twice,
yeah.
Oh, it's triple platinum. Triple
platinum.
Yeah, for 2014. But Born Sinner, I think I really have an appreciation for the drive that he had throughout that entire album, where he's trying to make it. He's trying to get there. He's doing all those features. He's busting his ass to tell this story and do these tracks and, like, make it. And 2014 Forest Hills Drive is when he made it. I like the idea of you're climbing that mountain peak. You're climbing that mountain peak and you're just right there below the top, you know? And it's like, when you're trying to get there, that's the best part before you make it, you know, that moment just before you reach the top of the mountain. 2014 Forest Hills Drive is you're at the top of the mountain and
that's
you're looking
his peak.
down.
I agree. So, I added up all the points while y'all were discussing. Number 10 was Big Sean. Number 9 was Kid Cudi. Number 8 was Wiz Khalifa. Number 7 was Meek Mill. Number 6 was Mac Miller. Number 5 was Nicki Minaj. Number 4 was Future. Number 3 was Drake. Number 2 was Kendrick Lamar. And number 1 was J. Cole. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good list. It covers a lot of subgenres of rap that got covered throughout our list. Most notable names that missed out of our top 10 that didn't make it was Tyga, Nipsey Hussle, he was taken from us too early. Ace Hood, who had his growth stunted by all of DJ Khaled's antics, you could say. But from the list that didn't make our top 10 was Migos, Chief Keef, Wale, 2 Chainz, and Travis Scott. But the top 5 that we all named, because they were put in our own top 5, catapulted them into the list, even though one person didn't mention them or 2 people didn't mention them. Like Kid Cudi had 6 points, which catapulted him into the whole top 10 of all time of our generation. Now, I want to thank the listeners. If y'all still here after an hour, I want to thank Katie and Angel for being my guests. I know me and Angel talked about future episodes of him talking about guitars that he's working on and stuff like that. And then I want to plan something with Katie talking about the MCU or even anything talking about, Attack on Titan. We could do an episode on. So there's a lot of future episodes that y'all would want to stay tuned in. But thank y'all for tuning into the very first episode of the Afternoon Snack. I appreciate y'all for staying for an hour to an hour and 5 minutes. And it's going to be a long episode. It was a long episode, but we kept it real, and I feel like it was interesting enough. Anything y'all want to say goodbye to the fans who are listening, the 1 fan or the 10 fans that end up listening to this?
We'll get the whole family to listen to it. That'll be like 40 of us already.
Yeah, I hope so. But thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. This is Luis Ayala of the Afternoon Snack, and I'm signing off.